afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the 2024 graduating class of the Police Athletic League Junior Police Academy, class number 4. Give them a hand. All right, before we get started, can everybody please stand up and say the Pledge of Allegiance with me? Landon, start us off. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Wow, what a week. What a week. And I'm so happy that it's Friday, not because the camp's over, but I'm extremely excited that it's Friday because, I mean, these kids here put the work in, and I'm sure that they're glad that it's Friday too, although some of them already said, I can't wait to get going again. The bottom line is, before I get into a little bit about what we did with regards to our schedule this week, there's a few people I want to thank first and foremost. First and foremost, I would like to thank the mayor of the city of Erie, Mayor Joe Schimber. Please give him a hand. And, the reality is, I've been around the mayor now for almost 7 years. And one of my favorite things that he says, and, his goal is to slowly but surely every year try to transform Erie in the right direction and in the right place. And after spending a lot of time with this leader, those aren't just words. Those aren't just words. And being in the position that he's in, obviously any elected position, any position of leadership, you're going to get a certain amount of pushback, people that disagree with you, those kinds of things. But you know what? The reality is, true leaders will take all that when 80% of the time, 90% of the time, this guy works harder and longer hours than I do and I put in. So for that's why this program is possible. When you have a leader that comes in with that sort of mentality, that comes in and says that he wants to try. He didn't say he was going to do it. He said he's going to try to transform this city. I'm just lucky enough to, finally meet an individual that puts actions over words, and I get to see it up close and personal every day. So for that, Mayor, I thank you. Other individuals that I'd like to thank, obviously, is my Chief of Police, Dan Spazzarni, and please give him a hand. I would also like to thank our Deputy Chief, William Marucci. Please give him a hand. My other Deputy Chief, Deputy Chief Rick Laura. Inspector Chris Janis. Captain Anthony Tallarico, who was up on stage with us. And I would also like to thank Rob Frank, all these videos and productions and that you see online, hey, that's not me sitting there. I'm not that techie. So we actually have Rob Frank, who in my opinion is the best in the game, the best in Erie County for sure, that makes your kids look good when you go on the Erie POW website. So Rob, I thank you and your staff for everything that you've done. I'd be remiss to not thank Rob Lee, who is sitting to our right here. He's the brains behind the operations with that technology stuff that I just don't quite understand. So please give Rob a hand. And obviously our media. I get chills every night when I see this program getting so much recognition. And, and I say this every year, that the public is so used to turning on that news. And, the first thing that comes to their head is what happened in Erie. And, and 9 times out of 10, it's, it's something negative. So I'm just very proud of our media that, makes a conscious effort, through the years with this program. They make it their business to essentially find out what is it that we are doing every summer, every week, every month. So, without the media, and thank you for being here, I really appreciate the coverage that you do highlight our children and our youth in our community, because I tell you what, I'm starting to see a turn and a change in that pendulum start to swing back the other way to where this city's starting to focus more on the positive, and at times I think, I tell everybody every day that, yeah, some of the things that you're saying is pretty truthful, but the majority of things that you see, that, through word of mouth or maybe something that's negative on TV, that you're only getting 25% of the story. I'm a firm believer that youth in our city are not the problem. I would argue with anybody to say that we don't focus enough on our youth, that actually they're the positive highlight of the, of what's going good in our city. Because not just these first 2 rows, okay, the other kids that have come through this program and are involved in other things of after-school program and other entities, those are going to be our leaders. They are going to be our future. And if we don't keep reinforcing that fact that, these guys are going to change the world, and I know in our backyard we focus on that, but this is contagious. This program, and again, I'm very humbled that, we're raising the bar, not just in the Erie County, we're raising the bar across the country. And there are a lot of things that we're doing that's basically, like the mayor says, transforming Erie. We're transforming, I think, because of these kids, because of the great team that I have always around me every day. We're transforming the mentalities of what's going to push not only our city, but our country in the right direction, because they are what matter, period. And I promise you that these kids, with a vested interest from the adults, we're a small percentage of that involvement. But if our community surrounds themselves and embraces these kids, they're going to make us proud someday. And they're going to give us a whole new different way of thinking about things as we are sitting around a table thinking about what's best for our community. How do we resolve conflict without things being so polarizing? Those are the things that these kids are learning right now, and they teach us too. So enough of my soapbox on that, but I thought it would be very important, to start that off right away. Before I get into anything any further, coming into this camp, Officer Antoine, okay, Antoine Fields, Corporal Hayden Foltz, Sergeant Melanie Sazoric, okay, they are the reason that I can stay upright throughout the whole week. I get asked every day, where do you find the energy? Where do you find the time? I got a family of my own, and I even tell my wife, this is my one big giant family, and I'm proud of that, okay? But if it wasn't for the help that I'm surrounded with every day on that front line, I don't know if we could have gone to the levels that we have. So Officer Antoine, Corporal Hayden Foltz, Sergeant Sazoric, who is not here, she had a doctor's appointment, and my unsung hero is Lebrang, sitting back here to the left. I mean, she's a Gannon student who has been the heartbeat every single day, every single camp, every field trip, every function. We're hoping to get her on this job next year because she's taken our test. And I can't thank Labria enough for being a young adult mentor for these kids to also show them that anything's possible if you work your behind off and take no shortcuts. So Labria, thank you for all your help. All your help. So without further ado, before we actually get into the ceremony part of it, I'd like to invite Mayor Joe Schember to come up and say a few words to you guys. Mayor?
appreciate it. I'm honored to be here with all of you. Thanks for what you've gone through the last several years, learning all this. And I agree absolutely with Sergeant Lennox. This is going to transform Erie over the long term. That's why I'm really, really excited about it. And I'll do everything I can to support and keep this program going. It's grown from about, where there were about 5 officers involved before I became mayor, and about 50 kids involved. Now we have 900 children involved, and we have, is it 91?
We have 1,400 kids, and we have over 100 officers.
1,400 kids and over 100 officers involved in this. So that is really awesome, really awesome. Yeah. So I'm honored to be here with you. I'm a little older than most of you, but I really look forward to watching how Erie is transformed as all of you start to get older, and you've learned a lot already. I'm sure you'll continue to learn. I'm honored to be with you, and let's get on with the program. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So without further ado, there's another little narrative that I want to kind of articulate. Coming into this camp, my staff, Hayden and I, Antoine, Sergeant Szorek, we were sitting around. We've been spoiled for the last probably 7 or 8 years. We have, because we start with these kids when they're in 3rd grade, and some of our elders, our leaders, our older leaders are sitting there in the back who keeps coming back to mentor and lead, which I am so happy that you're here. But my point is, we've been spoiled. And I've had a blind spot probably the last 2 or 3 years because, like the mayor said, we started in 1 location and now we're in 20, right? So, first couple of years it was a little easier, where it was kind of like, hey, I get an opportunity to go out and play and teach athletics and things like that. And then as time went on, things just started getting bigger. My role had to expand to where I had to be more in a management role and to play less with the kids. But my point is, the last few years we've been spoiled because we've had this nucleus of kids, and 4 of them are sitting in the back right now, that, here's where the blind spot comes in. We've depended upon those leaders for the last 7 or 8 years, going on all the field trips, going on all the, community service events, hitting all the camps, which all the kids are invited to, by the way. But, I never really sat around and thought, who's coming back, or who's behind them? Who's coming back? And then one day when I started thinking about it, I'm like, man, who are our next leaders after Abby graduates, after Gracie, Ariel, Ashley, Matthias, Alejandro, the names that have carried this program for the last 7 or 8 years, and they're doing wonderful, great things right now in high school, and extremely proud of them. I mean, there's a few of our kids that graduated that are going to the military, going to college. They're going on and moving on and living out their dreams, which brings me to this moment. So kind of when I hit 3 graduations this year, that's when reality set in. I'm like, all right, we're losing some of our babies that are now adults. So now it's really time to start focusing on who are those next group of leaders. And Hayden will tell you, I was panicking about it. I'm like, man, all right, I don't really know these kids as much as I know the ones that I've been with for the last 7 or 8 years. But what makes this special, in this week that was special for me, was they're sitting right here in the first 2 rows. And it was such a joy to get to learn every individual personality, which kind of put my mind at ease, kind of like, oh, man, they're here. We just got to focus on them just as much as we did the other ones that are sitting behind. And I thank you guys for that this week, because like I said, you're stuck with me now till you graduate high school, and hopefully for the rest of your life, all right, like it or not, all right, in good times and bad times, right? So I also want to thank Daryl Craig back there, our new community liaison. The work that man does in our community is unbelievable. So without further ado, I want to explain the kind of week that these kids had. This is the only camp, and I always say every camp is the greatest, but if truth be told, This camp here is my favorite. This one is special. Just because of all the kids that we have in the program, that's when we tap into my leaders sitting behind me, my team, myself, our teachers, our principals, to where we pay specific attention and get feedback. And actually, our veterans in the back, they're paying attention to these younger kids saying, hey, listen, Melina, I think she's got in her what we had when we first came into the program. Or, geez, I think Landon is a potentially good leader, but I think if he gets a chance to kind of show himself a little more with a camp like this, he's going to thrive. You know, so the reason why I like this camp, because it isn't everybody gets a trophy and everybody's invited. They earn it. They earn it. And we try to mock it and simulate it as if they are being hired by the City of Erie Police Department. They get recommended by either myself, my officers behind me, the teachers, my adult leaders in the back, and we put effort into it. And we vet this academy every single year. And I tell you what, it was a 100% hit for this class number 4. You guys were phenomenal. So not every kid is going to be able to go through this academy. And another thing that we kind of take pride on is about 80% of these kids, if I'm hoping higher, will become police officers someday. We need to start changing that message. We need to start getting behind these kids and reinforcing the fact that although this job isn't easy, you are going to have tough days. You are going to have people that are going to hate the police, and half the time when I talk to people anymore, I go right to the root. Tell me the why. Tell me the why. Why are we still hanging on this? How are we ever going to change is if we keep going back and forth at each other. But these kids are going to prove someday what I've been saying for years, that this is one of the most honorable, noble professions that you could actually come into to make a change, not only in your community, but, you know, in your own families, you know, in your schools. So I take that serious, and I'm recruiting now. I'm not waiting until they're 21. I want them now. So that's what makes this camp so special, because they are selected. Okay? So without further ado, let's talk about our week. So Monday, every morning, every day, we would report to our police memorial. We would get in our little circle, say the Pledge of Allegiance. I explained to them what that police memorial means to us and what it should mean to every police memorial in every city across the country, to pay homage to our officers and our leaders that have paid the ultimate sacrifice for their communities. So every day we started off right there at that police memorial to pay homage and to recognize the greatest country that we live in. And that's another mindset we need to bring back. We do live in the greatest country on the planet. And we need to start working together to get us back to where we need to be. So every Monday, we would meet at the police memorial, or every day. Very first day, we did the Erie Police Department City Hall tour. These kids went to every single office, every single location throughout this whole building. I'm very proud of our City Hall employees, and more specifically our officers, that took the time on that first day. You know, because we're busy people, and sometimes when you get a group of 21 kids that walk in, they're so caught up in their work, sometimes it gets annoying, but none of our employees or none of our officers treated these kids that way. They took the time and explained to them through thousands of questions that they had to let them know what their responsibilities and roles were. You know, they met with our command staff, Chief Spizzarni, Deputy Chief Marucci, Deputy Chief Laura, Inspector Janice, Captain Tallarico, right from the jump, right from the door, so they can deliver a message of what this job means. Right after that, you know, and again, that's what you would normally do if you were coming on this job. They met with our field training coordinator, Sergeant Curtis Waite, who, basically any new hire that we have, he sets up their training program for the next 3 or 4 months of getting them on the trajectory of getting them through training so they could become police officers on their own or in a two-man after they get through our training program. We immediately transitioned to introduction to patrol and police functions. So we put them through an actual roll call. We explained to them how the zones are set up throughout the city of Erie, what the numbers on the car means, what a roll call is, what kind of things do we go over at a police roll call, how are cars assigned. We did that right out of the door. Then after lunch, then these guys had an opportunity to go down and see how our equipment works, from our cruiser, from our police cruisers to our Bearcat, to any vehicle that we drive for special events or special operations. These kids got to learn that on the first day. So after a grueling first day, day 2, we went over to the courthouse. We have a courthouse day with the academy, to where right out of the door we went right over to the sheriff's department, met with Captain Marty Davis, and we went to the sheriff's department's roll call. That way they could understand what assignments that they're given on their daily responsibilities. From there, Marty Davis took us on a courthouse tour. After that, we immediately went to the district attorney's office. We sat down with Assistant District Attorney Jeremy Leitner and Detective Ann Stein, who explained to them, what is the function of the district attorney. Explained to them a little bit about our crimes code and charges and the process and the criminal justice system. Very educational. These guys, they never do it every year. Detective Stein, she's an investigator to where she dumps cell phones. I don't know why every year no teenager wants to give up their cell phone and let Ann do it. I don't know why. But anyways, they got a pretty good education on social media, on every platform from Detective Stein. So from the district attorney's office, we met with adult probation, juvenile probation, and then we went, this is funny, to the coroner's office, all right? And what was awesome about this year is, I don't know if any of the adults remember Dr. Eric Vey, who's been the forensic pathologist at Erie County for 30 plus years. We got lucky that day, because originally we were going to meet with Coroner Lau Cook, but we were lucky that Dr. Vey was there on his last day. Am I right? And so we had the honor of having Dr. Vey. You guys were his last presentation, and what a riot he was. Am I right, kids? I don't think these guys, we had some squeamishness, but Dr. Vey did a heck of a job with that presentation. Another highlight of that courthouse day is Judge John Tresilla. And for anybody that knows Judge Tresilla in this room, he's a pretty intense, fiery guy. And, in a good way, by the way. He's my kind of person. But I told these guys, hey, if you go in Judge Tresilla's office and he catches you slipping, you're slouching, you're not paying attention, rolling your eyes, he's going to call you out. You know what I mean? Am I right, guys? Am I right? So, he spent an hour with these guys, to talk to them everything from criminal law and procedure to how trials are set up on the criminal end. He got into the civil end. Just a wealth of information, and he enjoys instructing during that piece of the academy every single year. Matter of fact, last year when I didn't ask him, he got mad at me. I would ask another judge, hey, I'm sorry, Judge. So all the judges over at the Court of Common Pleas, they're always on board with POW every year. So Wednesday is when we actually went out to the police academy at Mercyhurst Northeast. And every year, we get lucky. Sometimes there's cadets out there, sometimes that there's not. So we met with we transported them out to Northeast. We met with program director William Hill, which right out of the door, he brings them in, sits them down, explains to them the expectations, the rules, the process of what it takes to become an actual police cadet, to attend Mercyhurst Police Academy to get your Act 120, which is a fancy way of saying you are a certified police officer once you go through their program, and you can be a police officer anywhere in the state of Pennsylvania, in addition to other states as well. So Bill Hell met with these guys, talked to them about the process, his experiences. And while we were out there, the kids went through a pretty grueling obstacle course. And that's usually my favorite part of it, because that's when you strongly deliver that message and send that message that it's not one person that's going to get you through that obstacle, but it's going to be your partner or the team that you surround yourself with. And that's life. I mean, if you think that you can go through life by yourself without help, yeah, I mean, that's the wrong message. So that obstacle course really is an eye-opener for these kids, that you can work harder or smarter. You know, if you're smarter, you won't have to work as hard if you're bringing your partner and your team along saying, hey, let's go. I forced these guys, when they saw their partner kind of physically exhausted, we were on their butt saying, hey, communicate to your partner. Don't let them quit, because that's life. That's why I love that obstacle course. It's not just a physical challenge. It's a good mental challenge. And it teaches you about teamwork right out of the gate. So while we were out there as well, there's this video recorder. They call it the simulator, to where these kids had an opportunity to go in and play out some real life experiences of what it's like. And that's usually fun, because I tell them, hey, communication is 90% of this job. And you never know what question you're going to be asked. You never know if somebody's going to physically advance on you. You never know if you're in the process of being assaulted. You never know if it appears as though somebody is assaulting you, but really they're reaching out for help, those kind of things. So that's always a lot of fun, to put these guys in those simulators to see what they're going to do and have them work through that frustration level to come up with some sort of resolution or safe resolution with the situation that they're dealing with in that component. So that was a lot of fun. So after that day, at the end of that day, I figured they had enough. They were physically exhausted. So we took them over to the Northeast Gravel Pit Park, where they played. We just had a pizza party, and we just went out there and played, and we gave them some freedom for that last hour, because they worked hard the first 3 days. So Thursday, yesterday, was when we started introducing the kids to our criminal investigation division. It was a very emotional morning yesterday, and I'm sure the kids came home and talked to you guys about some of the things that they saw. Okay? And I don't apologize for that. Okay? Because, you know, part of this is to let these kids know that we do see, not everybody can do this job, but we do see some pretty traumatic things. And we do see a lot of things on a daily basis that is completely out of our control. But the point that I was trying to make was, once you see something like that, if this is the job for you, you have to immediately figure out a way to emotionally check your emotions, okay? And immediately kick into that mindset of, okay, this is horrible, but what can I do to help this family or this victim? You know, that was the whole purpose and point of that. And there wasn't probably a dry eye in that room. And they were also told that it's okay. We feel the same way. There are calls that we cry on. There are calls that stick with us. And that's okay. But the challenge, I think, of yesterday, and I loved how they recovered after that, was after we all hugged it out, we kind of had some one-on-one conversations with that. They immediately got right back in the fight, and they were ready to, what is the next challenge? And I was so proud of you guys yesterday for that. But I'm not going to shelter them and not tell them and show them the reality of what goes on. So that was very enlightening. From there, we met with some of our major crime detectives, our white-collar crime detectives. And then around lunchtime, right before lunchtime, we had a special guest that came to visit the City Hall in the Erie Police Athletic League. Anybody hear of Robert Irvine, the world-renowned chef? Anybody? All right. Well, he paid a special visit to City Hall yesterday. Came in, spent some time, talked to the kids. And if you ever Google what that man's journey is, you would understand why he does what he does. Have a lot of admiration and respect for that man. So that was a special treat for the kids. You know, he spent time with the kids, talked to them, gave them some good life lessons, advice, took pictures with them, got autographs, all that kind of stuff. And I told him someday when you figure out who that man really is, you're going to appreciate that moment. So then we went right into lunch. And then after that, we met with our forensic team. We debriefed, and then we went home for the day, which brings us up to today. Today was all about Specialty Unit Day. You know, the kids had an opportunity to go up to our bomb squad, met with our bomb squad commander, some of their operators, to where they got to see some of the pretty cool stuff, the robots, the old pizza bomber replica collar, you know, those kind of things. They got to did you guys put on the suit? Officer Antoine? Oh boy, I wish I'd have got a picture of that. You know, so at any rate, you know, they had an opportunity to spend time with our bomb squad today. They had a nice SWAT demonstration today. Another thing that and this is a first, you guys are going to be mad at me in the back. Another thing that we did today, and I'm so glad that I was stubborn enough to stick with it this year, was we actually did traffic stops, which was awesome. And that might have been one of my favorite components of it, because what we did is every single one of these cadets had to literally call out a traffic stop. Hey, Bravo 1, we are traffic stop 300 block of Ash Street, out with a gray Honda CRV, PA registration, Alpha, Lima, boom, 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 3 occupants, whatnot. They all had to do that, and I know they were embarrassed at first because we were on the PA. We weren't on the mic, we were on the PA where everybody could hear it. So imagine 20-some cadets doing that, and they had to do it. And what was really cool was, you know, from our vantage point, it was fun to actually, you know, put them in our shoes, because we forced them to tactically approach these vehicles as partners and put them in scenarios of some of the things that we hear on some of these stops, and how do you react to those kind of things. So we got into the legality of things, of these traffic stops, what we can and can't do. We even planted some drugs in the car, right? You know what I mean? To see if these guys were paying attention. Not real drugs. It was sugar. You know, so that was another fun component that we did. But you know what was fun was to see all of them when they picked up that mic and they knew that their voice was being carried throughout the whole 2 blocks, and they were a little bit embarrassed. Then they started getting confident, and some of them got cocky, but it was cool. It was pretty cool. So which brings us to today, okay? What you guys went through this week, I'm extremely proud of you. And I told them before we got in here that because they went through an academy, it doesn't stop here. It's just a start. Because the expectation level for me, and I know as a program and our team, that we're going to hold their feet to the fire. I promise you that. And you can ask some of the parents that are in this room that knows me. I take no shortcuts of holding kids' feet to the fire just as much as they hold my feet to the fire. It works both ways. You know, if I come in slipping one day, these guys back here can attest to that. You know, if I'm having a bad day, or if I'm slipping, or if any of these guys are slipping, Mel's slipping, you know what? They remind you of that in a discreet way. That's what family does. It works both ways. So this is just a start for these first 2 rows here, okay? So without further ado, because I know we're on a time crunch a little bit, but I don't care. It's about you. It's about you. It's Friday. I don't care. It's about you. All right, so essentially before we start calling off names, we are going to get into the actual, you guys have earned your diploma. You've earned it. And every diploma is going to read like this. And and this is a letter of accommodation for some of our special presentations that some of these kids are going to get, which basically spells out the whole week. For your outstanding leadership, attention, engagement, and commitment to the 4th Annual Junior Police Academy, which took place Monday, July 8th through Friday, July 12th. The week consisted of presentations by the Erie County District Attorney's Office, Erie Sheriff's Office, Erie County Adult and Juvenile Probation, Erie County Coroners, the Court of Common Pleas, simulations, and Municipal Police Training Academy at Mercyhurst Northeast, a tour of the Erie Police Department and City Hall that included presentations on roll call, criminal investigations, the training division, major crimes, white-collar crimes, ID unit, accident investigations, traffic stops, and narcotics. Throughout the week, you took the opportunity seriously. You were an exemplary role model to your peers. You were attentive. You conducted yourself in a respectful manner, asking relevant questions of the presenters, and you helped and supported others. Now, therefore, I, Joseph V. Schember, Mayor of the City of Erie, and Lieutenant Tom Lennox, on the 12th day of July 2024, do recognize you as a graduate of Class 4. Give yourselves a hand. All right. Now's the time to come up here and get your diplomas. And what's in these bags, and you got to promise me this, those guys know the rules, do not open it until you go home. And what's in that bag, do not put that on unless you're serious. Don't lose it. Don't let anybody borrow it. And if I ever see it on somebody else, I'm going to rip it off and take it back. Okay? So, so make sure that you wear that with pride. You've gotten a lot of Powell t-shirts, but I think that you all have earned this one. Okay? Make sense? All right. All right, so our first Class 4 Academy graduate. Now, kids, when you come up, shake everybody's hand. First one, Ilianis Morales Rodriguez. And she's a heck of a wrestler. Heck of a wrestler. Next Academy graduate is Isis Clanton. Next Academy graduate, Serenity Bennett. All right. There's a funny story to that. Never mind. The next Academy graduate for Class 4, Miliana Watford. I'll explain that story later. All right. This is where I need my crew. Mary, Mary. Hey, the adults. Do you remember that song back in the day? All right. The next Academy graduate is Mary Love Rivera. The next Academy graduate, Rondell Jennings. The next Academy graduate, Jasmira Ortiz Soto. AKA Butter. Next Academy graduate, Kylie Wycheck. The next Academy graduate, Hannah Lee. Whoops, sorry, Captain. Next Academy graduate, Aubriana Watford. Next Academy graduate, Landon Thomas. Next Academy graduate, Giovanni Watford. Next Academy graduate, Lakia Green. Oh, thanks, dude. Next Academy graduate, Melina Aghawanova. Did I get it right? Hey, pronounce that last name right, girl. Come here. Get over here.
Agajanova.
What? All right. It's going to take me a minute, but I'm going to get that by the end of the summer. Congrats, girl. Melina's going to have a nickname by the end of the summer. Or I'm never going to call you by your last name. I'm joking. All right. Next Academy graduate, Davari Roberts. Next Academy graduate, Keith Baker. Next Academy graduate, Thayer Testa. Next Academy graduate, Henry Lee. Alrighty. Class 4, congratulations. Parents, give them a round of applause. Okay, now, this last component, because I'm looking at the time, I said an hour, so we're getting there. This last component throughout the whole week, and I want to reiterate that every single one of these cadets are camper of the week. okay? This year I had to go outside the box a little bit, and they're back there laughing because I'm such a softie. And, it starts off as 3. Yeah, I think we started the first year. How many did we have, Gracie? How many campers of the week cadets of the week do we have? Like 2, 3? First year. Yeah, so I keep getting softer and softer, and because it's just so difficult to pick. It's so difficult to choose. And I actually added 3 other things this year that, I'm just getting soft, but you guys deserve it. But what we look at throughout the week is last night we didn't get out of here till extremely late because what we do, what the cadets do, their first day, they're given a notebook and a pen. And they're instructed pretty much, kind of like what a police officer does, your field notebook, you are responsible for that. So anything that comes out of any adult or any professional or any officer that they are meeting with, they're responsible essentially to take down what you hear and try to regurgitate that and put that on paper. Because as police officers, obviously that's a pretty important job. So that's one criteria that we look at. And after last night, we kind of went back and forth because they were calling me a softie. But that's okay. I'll take that. But we look at the notebook throughout the week. We also look at the participation level. In this class this year, no offense to the elders, they did a great job at asking a lot of questions. But this group was, am I right? Even Judge Trisilla kind of stumbled with some of the questions that these kids were asking. I mean, he was like, "Are you serious?" And hey, they're good, aren't they? Yeah, they are. But everywhere we went, these kids, and because the rule was, every person we meet with, you got to have 5 questions. These guys had like 20. You know what I mean? And you like to see that because it reinforces that they're getting a lot out of it, and they challenge these professionals, and I was so proud of them. So there's a heavy criteria, the notebook, the questions, going above and beyond throughout the whole week. That's what I look at. And I don't want to say we. This year, I added basically 100% effort award, meaning that particular cadet came in one way, but by the end of the week, kind of changed and went the other way and was all in. Now, when I say that they weren't in the beginning, I'm saying that some cadets, it was a little more challenging than some and showed me a lot this week. So this first individual, we were at the Boys and Girls Club camp. We already had our selections. We already had our camp selections picked. And this young man comes up to me, and actually he went up to Sergeant Szorek. And can I tell this to Vari? Well, let's just put it this way. He's earned it. And every time that you meet youth out in the community, whether they're a part of the program or they're not a part of the program, you almost want these youth to buy in immediately as it relates to good advice that you're trying to give them. And you always appreciate when a young adult or a young man or a young lady comes up to you and they're just thriving and hungry for knowledge and information, like what ifs and, I don't want to wind up a certain way. I think this program can change my life. And that's all he needed to say to me. And I remember Melanie coming up to me at the park and saying, "Dude, you're going to cry. Go talk to Davari." And literally, he had me walking off that playground in tears. And Davari, the expectation level for you, my man, is even going to be even higher. And I'm always going to keep my hooks in you because I see so many good things in you that if you continue to buy in and stay the course, young man, okay? So our first 100% effort award, and basically it says throughout the week, You put in 100% effort into the academy. You took the opportunity to listen, learn, and grow as a person. Be proud of your performance and of yourself. And there's other narratives that are in there that I want you to read through thoroughly. Okay? So, Davari Roberts, come on up here, please. All right, my next 100% effort award or certification, and again, this is an accommodation from the mayor. This individual, she had I was well aware of the obstacles that she was going through away from this program. But what I really admire and respect about this person, and I've probably been telling her probably since third grade, fourth grade maybe, like, I can't wait for you to meet Abby. You remind me of little Abby so much, and Gracie and Ariel and all of our bright leaders in our program. But, what I paid particular note to for her is, sometimes when you have a bad day, it's all about getting back in the fight, putting that bad day aside, and looking at the positive things in life. And, Kylie, I think that you defined that. And I was very proud of some of the things that you came in with at the beginning of the week and how you didn't let that affect you one bit for having an outstanding camp. So, Kylie Wycheck, you got my 100% effort award. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I get a little rough. I'm a hugger. Sorry. So the next one, I don't care. I'm telling this story. Day one, right? I'm like, all right, looking at the roster, like, all right, we got this amount of kids. Where's so-and-so? I go around the corner. This kid's in tears, right? Day one. Gio. Yeah, I'm talking about you. So I go over to the car. Aubriana, Millie. They're all ready to go. Gio, whether it was, he didn't have maybe enough sleep the night before. I don't think, and by the way, he is our youngest kid in here. I didn't know if he had enough sleep or whether or not he really wanted to do it or whatever. And I basically walked over, and Mama can attest to this. The kids know that I'm infamous for saying, wah. We're doing it anyways. But once we worked through and Mama convinced, hey, we're good, come on, let's go. I tell you what, by the end of the week, what did I tell you, Twan? He thinks more like a police officer, like we do, than I would have ever learned from day one on that first encounter when you got out of Mama's car. Like, for real, you blew me off my feet with some of the questions that you were asking, the traffic stops. It was crazy how your mind thinks. You know what I mean? And that's good. All right, so Gio, from the start, the moment you got out of the car to how you finished your camp, very proud of you. 100% turnaround, kid. Giovanni, Watford. All right, now to the campers of the week. First one, and I'm just going to get right to the chase. I tell these guys there's vocal leaders and there's quiet leaders. And after reading this girl's notebook, after hearing some of the questions that she asked throughout the whole week, the way she carries herself, we just got to work on a little bit of bass in her voice a little bit. Speak up, Aubriana. Speak up. Come on. You got a lot to say. Speak up. So, Aubriana Watford, you're my first cadet of the week. Congratulations. Very proud of you. All right, next one. I mean, this girl leads in every area of her life, and it's still hard to believe that she's only in 6th grade. wasn't just a notebook. It wasn't just the questions that she's asked, but it was, I mean, she's all in, and it reminds me of a lot of you three in the back or you four in the back. I mean, she's all in, no matter what you ask her to do, and she's actually been the catalyst to get our wrestling program on the map through Erie POW. And she had a heck of an academy week, and I'm very excited to see what the future holds for you, young lady. Ileanis Morelos Rodriguez. I think she might be Erie's first state champ in the ladies. She's that good. So, the next one, she's kind of funny, but she challenges me too because I never know where she's coming from. And I always think that she's, you know what I mean, Twan, right? You know what I mean? But, you know, when I really got to know her personality, man, she's going to be a very brilliant young lady. I know she wants to be an attorney someday, although if I think I can maybe sway her to maybe come over to the police side, she'd be a heck of a police officer. Again, her notebook really was the icing on the cake for all of us, very detailed oriented. Asked a lot of great questions throughout the whole week, and Isis Clanton. You know, and as a dad, it's funny. Like today, I'll give you an example of how I think she's challenging me. So one day, I'm like, hey, we're getting pizza. What kind of pizza? Is it thin crust or thick? You know, me, as a dad, I'm like, well, why does it matter? Just eat it. You know what I mean? So then another one today, it was funny. I said, hey, we got some cake. She goes, chocolate or vanilla? And then me being the dad, thinking it's one of my teenagers, giving me a little lip. She's like, no, I just wanted to know. And then I feel terrible. I'm like, no, she legitimately wanted to know. So, Isis, I love you, girl. So proud of you. Good job, Isis. And Twan had to remind me all week, that's Isis. That's Isis. That's who she is. And I love who you are, girl. And I'm going to say this right out of the door. I know. I'm looking at the time. I'm sorry. I could talk about these guys all day. That's what happens. Hey, this is the Chief's fault. He's not here. So I'm blaming the Chief for this. All right. So what's that? Yeah. So when I talked to the kids this morning about, because I explained to them that, you know, there are some that are going to get cadet of the week, camper of the week, you know, that sort of thing. And I challenged them. I said, hey, who would you pick? Who would you pick? Forget about who we think. Who would you pick if there was one person? Unanimously was Landon Thomas. All right. So, yeah, this next one, I tell you what, man, I mean, our personalities are similar. She's a hugger like I am. She's always going out of her way to be kind, always going out of her way to ask, what do you need me to do? How can I help? And wow, did she have a heck of an interview on the news the other night. A heck of an interview. I was so proud of you. Because that came from the heart. And Mary Love Rivera. Mary. Good job. So proud of you. All right, this next one. Wow. So we started off our week coming into the security office area when we were explaining to the kids, hey, this is how the booking process starts. This is what we do. Introducing them to the security officer. Hey, well, listen, don't be embarrassed about this. So we're all huddled in this little area in there. And if anybody's ever been to our booking counter, it's a really small 5x5 space. So imagine putting 20-some kids in this little booking area with this plexiglass like around the arena or around that room. It gets hot, gets stinky. There's a lot of unique smells in that little area. So very discreetly, I didn't even know it happened. Miliana pukes a little bit. I think it was Hayden that said, hey, Lennox, I think Miliana, I think she threw up. Oh, Kylie, yeah. I think Miliana threw up in the booking area. But she treated it as business as usual. She was like, hey, all right, no, I'm good. We cleaned it up. And I was worried. I was like, Miliana, are you sick or whatever? And I was like, honestly, were you claustrophobic? Was it the smells? And she was like, it was a combination of everything. But what I loved what she did immediately, what are we doing next? I'm good. And that's how you carried yourself throughout the whole week. All the questions, how you fought back through that, and you had a great camp week. Your notebook was phenomenal. And, I'm excited that you came into our lives. So good job, Miliana Watford. Come on up. She's going to forever be known to me as Pukes. I think we figured out your nickname, girl. All right, very last one here. Good job, honey. Very proud of you. All right, very last one, and it's not going to be a surprise to anybody because, it isn't just this camp. I have collectively, and we as a team have collectively, it's been fun watching this girl blossom into the young lady leader that has always been in there, but it's very fun watching her come out of her shell and start, taking more of a leadership role. Had a great camp, and truth be told, she had the best notebook, period. Wouldn't you agree? Had the best notebook. Asked a lot of questions, giggly at times for my nature at times. Kind of like my teenage daughter. Everything's funny, but she's a great, outstanding leader, and it's been fun to watch her progress. Hannah Lee, good job. Hannah? Yeah, Hannah, I'm talking to you. And she did a great job on the news as well the other night, so good job. So, as you can see, it was very hard for me to pick just three. Next year, everybody's getting them. But, if you didn't get anything, doesn't mean that you're not camper or cadet of the week. You guys all are. And that's why it was so difficult, because this class raised the bar. And the deciding factor, unfortunately, because it was so close, was the notebooks. I could tell, and we talked to the kids this morning about that, I could tell who fell off the cliff by day 2 or 3 as it related to taking notes. So with that being said, I want to thank everybody for coming today, and keep doing what you're doing. What you're doing for these kids up front, you're doing it correctly. Keep reinforcing the things that we're trying to teach them. And I will, next week, this group, they get to go up to Mercyhurst for 2 days in their cybersecurity and intel program. And then, so this whole group's going next week if they can, because they graduated. And the week after, we have our camp at Gannon University. So parents, thank you for coming. Thanks for getting behind our program. Thanks for supporting your children. And have a good weekend. Thank you. Yep. And kids, make sure you stand by for a photo.